All right, guys and gals and kittens and pals, we got another project in here again for Matt. This dude's got all kinds of cool stuff, and if y'all saw the video of his Toyota, flip this around and show you this one. He picked this up not long ago. These things are super cool. This truck's actually pretty clean. I think it came out of California. Clean interior, panels are clean, dash is clean. Nice truck, honestly. The bed's in good shape. Sliding rear glass. Cool truck, nice wheels and tires. So we have this Toyota here, and Matt called us up, and he was dealing with some issues. He actually did a video where I think it broke down, and he was having a hard time with it. So we actually brought it in, and or Matt brought it in, and we checked it out. And before we even pulled in the parking lot, we knew that with the stock, this is a Ison Carburetor, and you can see it's got like 6,000 miles of vacuum line on this thing. These can be a lot of trouble. Once they start giving you trouble, if it's running lean or it's backfiring or it's high idled or whatever, you've got to check all the vacuum lines. And some of them run to like mechanical relays, like down to this one. This is like based on coolant temperature, and it opens and closes. But so not all of them, you know, if it's on one side of the relay and has a hole in it, you won't know until it warms up, and then it's got a vacuum leak and stuff like that. So they can be a huge pain in the butt to try to dial in. And if you're not a carburetor wizard, and even if you are a carburetor wizard, this thing will literally make you pull your hair out. I've owned several of these Toyotas. Steven's had a couple when we were growing up. These are really awesome little trucks, and they're not hard to fall in love with. So they're also, though, can make you literally pull your hair out if you end up dealing with an issue. And right now, Matt's got an issue with it, and so we're going to try to solve it as quickly as possible for him, and hopefully pick up a little bit of power. Accelerator pump diaphragm is actually leaking externally on this thing, and it's causing some rough idle and a cold start, or honestly cold or hot start, because you can't have fuel leaking and the carburetor work like it's supposed to. You've got to have the pressure solid pressure all the way to the float bowl, the needle and seat rather. If you're leaking gas or you're leaking vacuum, it's just nothing but trouble. So we want to eliminate as many of the vacuum line stuff as we can, hopefully get all this junk off the fender, remove a lot of the clutter on this thing, and simplify the whole process of starting and driving the truck. It also does have an exhaust manifold that's either cracked, leaking at the flange, what have you. Don't know, but this is also a perfect opportunity to upgrade to something better, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So here in just a second, I'm going to show you some of the parts that we've got. Our partners over at Holley, these guys have been super awesome. They've been helping with a bunch of projects. They're going to help on a lot of projects in the future, and we couldn't be more thrilled to be working with those guys.
What up?
Holley is a parent company for all kinds of cool stuff. MSD ignition, the Holley Sniper EFI stuff. They have headers. They've got all kinds of stuff. So anything under the Holley name typically is cool stuff, hot rod stuff, and solutions for older vehicles like this one, where getting parts for this are a pain in the butt, or the carburetor cost and having someone set it up and fixing all these way outweighs the other options that you have. And some of the other options that we have is stuff that we've got here, sitting right here right now. So again, our partners over at Holley threw down hard. We called them and told them what we were dealing with on Matt's truck, and Steven and I have both visited with them a little bit, and they've been super helpful. We kind of went and picked through what we thought we wanted to use, and
this is my favorite.
These guys hooked it up. Yeah, so right off the bat, these parts showed up the other day, and y'all know me, I'm slinging boxes, right? It's Christmas, and I'm ready to spoil Christmas. Well, we started ripping these things open, and right off the bat, you see this awesome header that these guys sent. It's got a 3/8 flange, nice welds on the tubes at the collector. It's got a ball tube on the end of it that gives you a little bit of adjustability on the outlet of this piece, so that you can get a few degrees one way or the other. And that's exactly what we plan to do, is to tie that header in to the existing exhaust that Matt has underneath this thing. The really icing on the cake part of this deal was when they said they were going to take care of us with a Sniper EFI kit. And we had talked about doing a Weber carburetor on this thing. But guys, straight up, hands down, fuel injection beats all that stuff.
I hate carburetors.
Yeah, Steven definitely working on the old Internationals has given us a good run for the money, because you're dealing with intake manifold leaks, warped base plate gaskets, low fuel pressure, needle,
Spark plugs,
dude,
wire,
float
gap,
height, all that kind of stuff.
points.
This is really awesome because it takes care of 95% of the issues that you typically have on an older vehicle whenever it's heat soaked, or you've got a fuel line too close to a manifold or something. You know, gas boils at a whole lot less temperature. I think it's 160 degrees. Gas will actually boil. So if you got a fuel line run next to something hot, you're dealing with a lot of problems, vacuum leaks, you know, where to set the choke, high altitude stuff if you're ever going to go up in the mountains, any kind of stuff like that, off camber, four-wheel driving. And this is going to solve all of that kind of stuff. Look at the finish on this thing, dude. So we're tightening the header up on this thing, and this back stud, the reason why the original manifold was leaking is because the last time that this got put on there, it actually pulled the threads on the cylinder head. So we're gonna have to extract this piece and install either a time cert or a helicoil, and we're gonna show you how to fix it. Instead of a helicoil, we're gonna use what's called a time cert, and it looks like this. It's actually a solid threaded tube. The ID is started in this case 12 by 125 or 10 by 125, and the outside is a 12 by 125. And these are actually superior to a helicoil. This is a much stronger piece. If you've never heard of a time cert, go check them out. If you've got another repair to do, you need to check these out because these are badass. So Steven's got a 10.75 drill bit that we're going to use to punch the pilot hole. Then we're going to tap it to the 12-125, install this stud, and reinstall the header. We've got the bed off the truck, and we're working on mounting the fuel sending unit and the high pressure pump that's going to feed the Holley Sniper. And we've run into a couple of problems for room constraint. Main thing is that the original float sat like this, and it moves up in this motion. We can't mount on the easier flat spot of the tank here. We can't mount the high pressure pump because right here where this bolt is, where that bracket is anyway, from there straight across is really tight to the top of the tank, and there's not enough room for the high pressure fuel pump assembly to actually set in the tank and clear the bed. So we're not going to chop that stuff out. What we decided to do is we noticed that the bolt pattern on the sending unit and the bolt pattern on the factory suction line is actually the same, and the orientation allows this sending unit to actually be installed here. But the problem is the height difference between where that one mounts and that one mounts. So what we've done is set this thing up here, made a Sharpie mark right where this starts to bend, and we're actually going to bend this piece up, the difference, to make this thing read correct, empty and full. Steven's got the fuel sending unit actually mounted, the high pressure fuel pump part that's going to feed our Holley Sniper mounted and wired up. Everything's good. The depth is correct. Teflon the fittings, all that's ready to go. This thing needs wired up and fuel lines run up to the front. We're going to try to use the factory location for a lot of that stuff, make it as clean as possible. We've extended the harness up here and actually moved our sending unit and rebent our arm so that our fuel gauge reads correctly. Got everything under the hood prepped up, quite a few of the plates set on this thing. We've got a couple more things to do before the intake manifold goes on, which Steven actually has sitting over here on his toolbox right now. What's up, Tolver? Howdy, y'all. And you can see the intake manifold has been stripped down. We've got a lot of the miscellaneous stuff that was on there. Some of these pieces are being replaced with plates and stuff like that. So we're getting this thing, we've got it, I say we, Steven's got it stripped down to where we can start putting it back together. And the first thing that we needed to do was to use our adapter plate that came from the guys at LC Engineering. Again, Toyota guys, if you need Toyota stuff, you need to holler at these dudes. LC Engineering, booyah, there it is, go check them out. So this adapter right here allows it has the same footprint as our Holley Sniper 2-barrel, and then it has, on the inside, it has the pieces for you to attach using the studs on this end and the countersunk Allens on this end to adapt to the footprint that was on the intake manifold and adapt to the Holley Sniper. But there's a little bit of modification that needs to be done. And you can see down inside here, what Steven's done is mock this thing up, and he's got some Sharpie lines drawn so that we can make the transition. This had a smaller primary barrel and then a larger secondary, so as you got into the power, you know, this one would be open. We're going to enlarge both of these and actually taper that stuff nice and clean so that the transition between our adapter plate and the intake manifold matches, and it's going to make it run like it's supposed to.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Steven finished up on the intake manifold, came over here to stab it, and then we realized that, what did we realize, Steven?
We're lacking a gasket.
We ain't got no daggum gasket.
No, sir, and we need it.
So that's been our whole deal with everything lately, is getting parts, and they probably have an intake manifold gasket, but we're going to blame it on COVID anyway, because why not? So you know about the fuel tank back there. We've got all that stuff knocked out. Steven just set the intake back up on here. You can see that the inside of this has now been ported to where both sides match. They match this adapter perfect, and the adapter makes it possible for the Sniper to bolt directly on there. So this piece sets up here. I believe it goes in that orientation, right? The throttle linkage on the inside? We don't know. We're not sure yet. We ain't got to that part. It may go the other direction. Maybe it goes, yeah. I don't know. It looks good either way. We're just going to have to see.
I like the wires at the back.
We want to hide the wiring and stuff, so we'll have to see where the factory throttle linkage and all that stuff comes out. I want to say that it's closer to the inside.
Yeah, this linkage used to be bolted right here. So we're going to have a full kit.
All right, so we got to make stuff. But it looks like if that's on that side, yeah, it may be easier.
This, I think, that's how it bolted.
Okay.
And that's how it revved before.
All right, so we got some fab work to do on that deal. We're going to get a new throttle cable or something. So what we want to do, though, for sure, is make it as clean as possible. So damn sure if we can hide it, we're going to hide every single thing that we can.
Yeah.
And, you know, make it look as clean as possible. So we've got basically all the plates on, all the plugs on. Steven's knocked all that stuff out on the intake manifold. We do have a block-off plate for with the factory mechanical fuel pump mounted. But, yeah, that thing is looking really sweet on there. And we've still got plenty of room for an air cleaner to fit underneath the hood. So we're going to do some measurements before we purchase something. That way we know whatever we got under there is going to work.
All this still has to go.
Got some more removal of some junk. But look how clean this thing is under the hood, man. We've moved so much stuff out of the way. We're really getting down to just the nitty-gritty on what it takes to make a little 4-popper run.
It'll look great with that.
Yeah, give us a little bit of visuals. Boom, dude. That looks dope. Looks really good. Yeah, this thing's gonna look sick under the hood. So for right now, we're kind of just at not a complete standstill. We've got some little kind of filler stuff to do. But while we're waiting on parts, we're gonna get everything knocked out that we possibly can, get a gasket ordered up for the intake manifold, make sure we didn't miss over anything before we start really buttoning this thing up. I expect maybe, I don't know if it'll run in the next video, but
hopefully.
Maybe. We're really close. Got some fuel lines to run, some electrical stuff, a stud, and some gaskets. We might hear this thing run next time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Y'all stick around and let's find out. Until next time. Later.